We have a deeply ingrained reflex when we hear something that challenges the official story. We laugh, we roll our eyes, dismiss it as impossible paranoia, and move on. And that makes sense. There is a lot of psychological comfort in trusting the narrative we are handed. It feels safe to assume the systems around us operate exactly as advertised. But history keeps repeating a strange pattern that disrupts that comfort. Stories that were once mocked and laughed out of the room quietly gather evidence over time. Because the record shows that ignoring a claim entirely just because it sounds absurd is a terrible strategy for actually finding the truth. Look at this device. There was a time when the idea of a government tapping its own citizens' phones was considered pure, unhinged fiction. Then the proof surfaced. Private conversations were being intercepted, recorded, and logged by the very people sworn to protect those citizens. Look at this photograph. This vintage data center shows the massive physical footprint required as programs evolved from individual wiretaps to mass data harvesting. Then you have the experiments. This photograph captures scientists at work, a clear reminder of the times institutions conducted secret testing directly on the public. These programs ran for years, without the subjects having any knowledge of what was happening to them, let alone giving their consent. As you can see in this press conference, when rumors began to circulate, authorities stood at podiums and flatly denied the operations existed. If mass surveillance and secret testing were buried and actively denied for decades, we must assume official stories today are missing crucial pieces. That brings us to the theories that remain entirely unproven today. The most persistent is the idea that global events are steered by unseen groups meeting in private. We know that actual leverage rarely operates in public view. Major decisions are negotiated behind closed doors long before a camera is ever turned on. When those decisions are finally announced, the public explanation often comes with inconsistencies, timelines that clash, or details that are quietly glossed over. The human brain hates a vacuum. When we see a gap in the logic, we instinctively draw lines between random data points to build a structure that makes sense. Once we sense we aren't getting the whole story, it becomes almost impossible to stop digging to uncover what might be buried underneath. But here is the hard truth that ruins the romance of the hunt. A lot of these alternative theories are entirely false. This stack of tabloids perfectly captures the reality of it. Many of these stories are manufactured entirely out of thin air, designed specifically to capture your attention by exploiting your natural fears. When you flood a system with enough noise, it becomes incredibly difficult to filter out a genuine hidden fact from a weaponized lie. That deep uncertainty breeds a highly contagious form of doubt. It starts with questioning a single event, but it quickly dissolves trust in institutions, the information you consume, and eventually the baseline concept of a shared reality. Curiosity might uncover secrets, but accepting every alternative theory without evidence leaves you completely detached from reality. Navigating this landscape requires balancing that innate human curiosity with strict, cold logic. First, you have to recognize that missing information isn't always a deliberate cover-up. Data gets lost, details get classified for mundane reasons, or things are simply overlooked. Second, the fact that an event is complex or poorly explained does not automatically mean a malicious group is pulling the strings. The most effective approach isn't choosing between blind acceptance and blind paranoia. It is committing to the actual, rigorous work of trying to understand the evidence. So the next time a supposedly crazy, unhinged conspiracy theory crosses your social media feed, don't immediately dismiss it, but do not accept it as fact without demanding the proof to back it up. The answers we are actually looking for almost never sit at the extremes. They live somewhere on the spectrum between total belief and complete disbelief, and quite often those answers are waiting right in front of us.